Oh my God, I just need to get Mike to fix that video. It just stops so suddenly. I think there should be a fade in. Hi guys, welcome to the Blether. You can see it's just me just now. I'm going to get our guest on in a second, but you know how I get freaked out when Mike's not here pressing the buttons for me. So just if you pop into the chat and just let me know that you can actually see me and hear me okay, and that I've pressed the right button at the right time. Good evening to everyone that's joining us. You guys are on it tonight. You guys are really early into the chat, and we've got all our usual suspects tonight. So it's nice to see you all along. We've got Dave Facherson, who's on Glenfiddich, 31 years old. Oh, gee whiz. You're bringing out the big guns tonight, Dave. We've got Where's Roy? We've got Petehead. Oh my gosh. So nice to have you in the chat, Petehead, because I met you last weekend at the festival, right? And you gifted me that most amazing, beautiful honey spoon. I don't know what the real word is. Honey. Somebody can help me out. Honey dabber, honey dipper, honey. It's beautiful anyway. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that. We've got, who else we've got? I saw some more people down here. We've got Dutch Judah, who's on a Kilkerran. Awesome choice. Ed Friday is on a long row. We've got Willis. I saw you at the festival too, Willis. I probably hugged you as well. I do apologise again if I saw you at another festival and hugged you. It does seem to become a habit of mine. John, hello, Alan. We've got a new name on here, Carper Piper. I haven't got my glasses on. Sorry if I've got that wrong. Oh yeah. So yeah, great to have met you at Leith, Petehead, or Frank, that we know your proper name. Pop into the chat as well if anybody else was there. It was such an awesome festival. I really did have the best time ever. I didn't even make it around the whole room. We only got halfway around the room because it was just rammed full of just amazing people and amazing whiskey. Like, people are really on the top form down there at the weekend. Okay, and we've got Major Knot as well. You missed you again. Oh, so you were at the festival, Alan, and you missed this. Never mind. There was a lot of people there. So Honey Dipper. Thank you, Frank. That's what the name is. No, great festival, and definitely let us know what was your dram of the day at the festival too. You didn't get a hug at the festival, Roy. You'll just have to come to another festival, because if I'm there, I'm just hugging people. Right. We have got a very special hi Dave, you've got a different name on Facebook. Nice to see you. Right, let's get our guest on. Mike is going to try and join us in a little bit. He's hosting a whiskey tasting somewhere else. So he is going to get that. Oh, actually, no, it's a gin tasting. He's hosting a gin tasting somewhere else. So he's just going to try and get that wrapped up and come and join us. But we've got an awesome guest tonight. I've been looking forward to this. I realised that we had a mutual connection, so I literally hunted him down, and he agreed readily to come on to the Blether for us. So really, really big news in the whiskey world. I think he rocked the whiskey world a little bit with his shock announcement, moving from one place to another, but what a fantastic story. So let's get Keith on, and he can introduce himself and tell us all about what he's up to now. So give me 2 seconds. There, here he is. Hello.
Hi, how you got?
Good. Welcome to the Blether. Honestly, I was just enjoying chatting to you offline for so long. I was like, we should probably just go live and save some of this chat for
Yeah, just press the button and go live. That's it. Yeah, it's good to Blether, isn't it?
I suppose we need to start by saying that you are still at work. So you're not having a dram with us tonight. You do have a dram with you.
I have a dram in a glass, yeah. Unfortunately, it'll just be my nose will be tingling with it rather than my tonsils. But yeah, it's it's a lovely dram. It's a nice little Orcadian, a nice 25-year-old Orcadian. Yeah,
Lovely.
Nice Highland Park. So yeah, lovely dram.
I didn't even tell people what I've got in my glass. I have got Fragrant Drops. So it is their Ardmore finished in Mezcal, which is absolutely fantastic. I picked it up at the Fife Whiskey Festival from Rach and George. So I'm going to give that one a go, because everyone knows how much I love Ardmore. So that's what's in my glass tonight. But for the people who don't know who you are, I'm sure they're few and far between, because you are a bit of a legend in the whiskey world.
A dinosaur, yeah.
So introduce yourself. Who are you, and what do we know you for? What's your big news?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm Keith Cruickshank. So obviously, I've been in the whiskey industry a long time. Okay, you'll have to excuse my Doric because it's just the way I speak, and that's it. Okay? I'm sure
This
most of
is
you'll understand it. Yeah,
when you start speaking Doric, though, my accent is going to come out, and by the end of this,
that's
nobody will
fine.
have any idea what we're saying.
Yeah, they want to have a clue, Ken. So it's yeah. So obviously, I'm for Keith. Keith the Keith. I know it's ironic, isn't it? Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I've been in the whiskey industry most of my adult working life. I started in the industry when 1991, and the intention was never to go into whiskey. In fact, it was probably the last thing I wanted to do. You know, my father was in the whiskey industry. He worked as a warehouseman at Glenfiddich, Walveney. So my brother, he worked in for Chivas. Again, my father, he worked. I truly probably didn't want to go into the whiskey industry. It was not an intention, but I mean, for someone that was sort of brought up in a 1980s child, not an 80s child, but obviously that's when I was a teenager. You know, opportunities weren't that great, to be quite honest with you. Back then, it wasn't great in the 1980s. Wasn't many jobs, but anyway, to cut a long story short, I started working in the warehousing in 1991 with Chivas, because obviously from Keith, that's one of the main employers. I either had the mills or the stills in Keith, the woolen mills or the stills. That's what they call it, kid. So I eventually got a job rolling cast in the warehousing down at KB2, I still was at that time. And then I just worked away there for years. And I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, kid. It was good work. It was good, hard, honest work. And then I was there until about 96. And then I got an upgrade. I got a job on shifts. And it just happened to be chance. The way there was one of the shift open. At that time, Chivas were on 24/7. They had 9 distilleries at that time, and they were just knocking it out. So it was, and there was a job came up. It was actually for sickness cover at Glen Grant Distillery, and when I was a young loon, Ken, I would have did anything. Really, I just wanted a job, and you always knew that working on shifts, you earned a lot more money, and I mean a lot more money. Yeah, and I wasn't a long married, Ken. So it was obvious that I was going to take the job. So I went on to shifts at Glen Grant, and it was 24/7. They were working round the clock. You know, you worked you worked a week on earlies, a week on backs, a week on night shift, and then you got a weekend off. So you worked 7 days, and I mean, it was great. It really was good. But yeah. As a young man. So I worked there, and then I also worked at Coleburn Distillery, which was Glen Grant's sister distillery at that time. Sadly, not anymore. But yeah, so I worked at Coleburn, two very different distilleries, I can tell you. Glennie's was 2-man operation at that time with a mashman and a stillman, but Coleburn was single-man operation, and it was something else. Like, it really was, like, Ken. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but at that time, that was about 90. I was about 1998. I went to shifts through 96, and in 98, there was a lot of changes going on with Chivas. The company was amalgamating, getting sold. The Chivas and Glenlivet group was getting sold, so they were all going on to single-man operations. So everybody's jobs were there was a bit of uncertainty, to say the least. And remember that same time, Gordon MacPhail were looking at opening up their first distillery, Benromach. Gordon MacPhail were a whiskey and wine merchant, independent bottler. They weren't a distiller, but they always wanted to be a distiller. So they bought Benromach in 93. It must have only been 7 weeks, and I forgot when they bought it again. 93, they bought it. Okay, it was shut in 1983. They bought it 10 years later, and I can't believe I almost forgot that. You believe that? Said it a million times. And then it was reopened in 1998. So that's when I came along. summer 1998. There was only two, was myself, the stillman, and then there was the manager. It was a very small distillery. It was truly the first of the craft distillers. There was no other craft distillery apart from Edrodower and Glenturret was the only ones that were of that size. Arran Distillery, Lochranza, it was a couple of years before us. It was similar size, but we were probably the first in the artisan or craft distilling lot, and everybody was so much bigger, and everybody used to laugh, it's a ton and a half mash, you just, and all that sort of stuff again. But it was all going to be for single malt, and it was for Gordon MacPhail. And there was only two of us, one mash a day. And it was great. We had some great times. Me and my manager came from Glen Spey, J&B, kind of similar situation. We kind of decided to take a leap of faith from bigger companies. I was obviously Chivas and Bob was J&B. And we started at Benromach, which is a completely manual distillery, and I mean manual. It was just, and it was great. Some of the fun we had and some of the things again. And we started producing again in the summer of 1998. And then Bob retired again. Bob was 58, 60 that time, so he retired again and retired to the golf course again. Great guy, Bob. Great guy. In 2000, and I took over in April 2000 as manager. And I was there for just shy of 27 years, So it was it's a great opportunity, and great times I had back then, just starting up the distillery. I mean, you were starting from nothing, And the thought of taking out a 10-year-old back in 1998 it was a whole millennium away, wasn't it? It was. And I thought, wow, it's been ages before we can get whiskey, And then 27 years later, we had to get a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, 21-year-old, and other whiskies in between them. And I was kind of privileged to be able to at least be there at the start of that and carry on with that and work with some fantastic people. But with that opportunity gave me the ability to decide when it was time for me to say, no, I want to do something else. And that came along this year. And that's exactly what I did. The time was just right where I could just say, well, I've achieved, and I did. I've achieved more than I ever thought I would achieve in the industry. And I thought, well, and I knew Dale and Mark because they're Keith Cruickshank as well. Okay, it's like a mafia. Okay, so yes, I knew them, and the opportunity came up, and I thought, well, something. I'm at an age now. I've only got 5-10 years left working. So I thought, well, am I going to get another opportunity to start another mothballed Speyside owned by the same company? And I thought, I'm never going to get that opportunity again. So I decided to take it, but still be proud of what I've achieved at Benromach. And that's a kind of story of where I've sort of came from and where I'm going. So yeah, my whole role here is give me a lovely title of Master Distiller. Ooh, lovely title and all that. Head of Whisky as well. So I'm involved in not just the startup of distillation at Coleburn, but head of Whisky to sort of help them with the whole own brand, which is something that is imminent at the moment. They're going to be taking out their own independent own brand. So that's good. That's something I kind of relish as well, to be quite honest. It's something I didn't have a huge amount of involvement with my previous employer, but it's, yeah. So yeah, 7 weeks. That's me been here 7 weeks. So, and the journey is less as well. I'm only 22 minutes for Keith to Rothes. Well, they Rothes up the Rothes road, Ken. So, but yeah, it's all been good, like Ken. So I've been very privileged, and that's the main thing, Ken, for me to be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve and more.
100%. I mean, like, that's such an amazing, to go into a whiskey shop and to see, your aged Benromach spirits sitting there in their boxes on the shelf, and knowing really you're kind of like the driving force behind that.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was there, Ken. I didn't make every single drop. Of course, I didn't. I was manager for 20 odd years, Ken. But I was there, part of it. And then it's everybody that's part of the making the Benromach. But I guess it's just that I was a lucky one, put it that way, that I was there right at the very start. And I guess that's why the whole market inside of Benromach was weighted towards me and that whole story as well. But it can never ever be about that. You have to hand over the baton, and that's what it's all about. Family companies do that as well. You've got to hand it on the next generation, and it just keeps on going. Okay, so but yeah, it's been. I must admit, 27 years. It's it's a distillery that I'll always
It's one of the more unusual ones as well, isn't it? Because it really puts people out of their comfort zone. Because they think of Speyside and they automatically think of non-peated, light and sweet. And then you just give them a Benromach and you're like, this is also Speyside.
It's a different. When we first started, that was the thing because obviously, Gordon MacPhail's obviously a family-owned company. And I got the opportunity with the third generation. And that was the first distillery, and it really was the pride and joy to have that very first distillery. But because Benromach was, it wasn't a recognised single malt, as was most of SND's distilleries, Coleburn as well, and such like. We had an opportunity to create a Speyside that we wanted to create, and it was we kind of look back in a lot of the old Speysides that were bottled probably in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we look back at them, and a lot of them had that. They were well sherried, they were rich and full-bodied, but they had a lot of smokiness, and that's what Gordon MacPhail chose to do, was to have this traditional old Speyside character that had that little bit of elegant smokiness, as it was called, and it is a little bit. Back then it was unheard of for a Speyside. Speysides couldn't have any smokiness. Oh my word, sacrilege! Imagine putting peat in a Speyside. Wow, But back once upon a time, all whiskey was peated. Ken, it was just it was always, you didn't have a Speyside character. It didn't exist. 50, 60 years ago, whenever, Ken. But that Speyside style sort of was introduced, and it became the sort of light, free, floral, whatever. Okay? Beautiful whiskey. So I think Gordon MacPhail decided it was going to be an old Speyside style from the 50s and 60s, when you still had the floor malt and that rich character was coming through. And that's what they chose. And I think it's lovely. It really is. That smokiness can be balanced off very well, just at the right level. I think a lot of whiskey drinkers, it's either a famine or a feast. Yeah, they got a Speyside. And once upon, I suppose it would have been, they got unpeated, or you got your tonsils actually pulverized, like Ken, with the beautiful West Coast whiskies. And they are beautiful, Ken. They are beautiful, But yeah, a lot of Speyside drinkers, it's just, I know friends and family, they just hate peated whiskies. They cannot. It's either love or hate. They just cannot. They can't even take a little bit of it. It's a flavour that just seems to. I don't know. Personally, I love peated whiskies. Absolutely love
it as well. I think sometimes it's psychological as well, because I've told the story before, but I did a tasting once for Mike at the shop, and we always sort of ask them, what you're looking for, what kind of whiskies do you like, and the sort of little remit I got was nothing Islay, don't like peat, only Speyside. So straight away, it kind of pissed me off a little bit. I came over from the West Coast. I'm like, right, let's just have a bit of fun. So I put I think it was a Boonhaven I put on the table. And straight away the guy sat down and he's like, oh no, I said no Islay. I don't want any Islay. I'm like, okay. So let's just try it. I was like, so give me an example. What's your favorite Speyside whiskey? He's like, Benromach, all day, every day. I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to go back to the start there.
It's psychological a little bit. it is a wee bit, and they get it, and then eventually you give them something that's maybe a bit lighter on the peat. I think, oh, I quite like that. It's just, I thought, well, just give it a go. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it's all about, Ken. But yeah, it's peated whiskies are fantastic. Some of them are just truly wonderful, Ken. So, but yeah, you get the old Speyside, the typical Ken, the old sherry Speyside. That's what whiskey should be. I don't put any water in my whiskey. Oh no, I don't put it really.
Yeah, that's all sounding very, very familiar.
Yes, yeah. Some whiskies don't take the water. Some of them don't. Some of them bloody need it, and they are better with it. Are wonderful with it. So, you do get a lot of that. It's quite funny. Often I get laughing with this. And, I mean, obviously, you go to whiskey shows again, and you see and I always laugh. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. Okay? You get them, and they come along. More so, some of the export trade shows I've been on, and they've got a wee lanyard with a wee glassy sitting in front of here, and they pour the dram, and then they get this pipette. Okay? And I swear the water is evaporated before it hits the bloody whiskey, and it makes all the difference to them. Well, what that nonsense, really, it truly is. That tiniest little drop, no way is that ever going to change in any way. There's not enough. But anyway, that's my opinion. I just like to laugh, and it's just, okay, if you put enough water in, I get that. I do get that. But not me. This is just, some of them actually think they've put water in, but if the droplet goes down, gets sucked back up again into the pipette. And I'm kind of wee laugh. Oh yeah, it really changes it, and it's all this and all that.
You've got to love the enthusiasm as well, though. Like
you do. Yes. I mean, and again, it's without that enthusiasm and that thirst for, we wouldn't have a whiskey industry. We wouldn't have a whiskey, a global whiskey industry like Ken. But it's
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of the peated whiskies. I never started drinking whiskey until I was 30. I never drank whiskey. No, I never drank whiskey until I actually started working in the whiskey industry. It was never ever deemed to be a young man's drink. You just didn't ever. It was old man's drink.
Especially like growing up in Aberdeenshire as well. Like a good bottle of malt was only ever teen out on like marriages, deaths, and Christmas, and just in case the Queen came. It was quite ceremonial, wasn't it? Like there'd always be a blend sitting in the house, but like a single malt wouldn't come out until something got married or died.
It wasn't a thing in my house for drinking whiskey. My father never drank whiskey at all. He just wouldn't. I don't know why. He never drank it. I guess with the era when he worked there, he probably seen, and I seen a little bit as well. He kind of ruined a lot of good men. I absolutely ruined them, Ken. That they couldn't really drink whiskey because they went through that whole culture, the dram culture, and it ruined them because they were drinking full strength brown spirit, and they were cleric as well, so, and it just took ahead of them, and it just ruined them throughout their lives for alcohol. It's sad that, but it was just, I guess it was just a cultural thing then. I knew of it, but I never really saw. I just saw the effects of the older guys I worked with, and they were all just recovering alcoholics. None of them could drink. An occupational hazard, that's what they call it. Alcoholism in the whiskey industry, an occupational hazard.
I guess it was education back then as well, because we're looking at a time when everybody smoked. You all started smoking at the age of 15, and you're boozing at your work because that's what you're making. And it's, I guess,
it was accepted. A lot of things were accepted in the past that truly isn't accepted now in the world. But there was a time when things, and guys used to drink at work, and they used to get it, and if they went too far, they would get sacked. They would just go down the road to the next store and get a job there. It's kind of, and you never really drove to work. You worked close to where you lived. And that was, that's just what most people did, so But nowadays it's so different. It would just not be accepted in any way, shape, or form. That,
No.
Ken. And neither it should be for obvious reasons, Ken.
Exactly. It's quite a dangerous environment we work in at Distillery.
Yeah, well, it can be. Like, it definitely is. Like Ken said, it's quite strange. It's strange how things change over the years in health and safety. I used to work in the woolen mills. As I said, the mills and the stills, that's all you had in Keith, Ken.
Yeah.
So as a young man at 16, I left school at 16 because it was not an option to anything else. I started in the woolen mills, and it was like something out of Charles Dickens. I'm telling you, you should have seen it. It was just bizarre, okay? All of this stuff, the equipment you used and all of this, and there was no health and safety. There was no safety guards or anything, okay? And I was working with guys that had digits missing off their hands, one guy with one arm, and it was all done because they got dragged into the machinery, and it just chewed up the, okay? And they used to allow you to smoke in the woolen mill, and that's, kid, in a woolen mill, you're allowed to smoke. And there was one time the manager, he was dead on health and safety. So his idea of making it more compliant and safe, he got us ashtrays. Like to smoke then, the young man. He all got us ashtrays.
That'll do it.
That would do it. Like, it was just crazy. I was wool and oil mixed together, and it was just, it was bizarre. But I mean, that was the 1980s. That's what it was back then, like, Ken. So luckily, it kind of has changed a wee bit now. Like, but that was my
funny. Listen to you talking about Keith so much. So our tenuous connection, and it's one I took too long to realise, is that I go to your wife's hair salon every 6 weeks.
Very good. Yeah.
As you can see, they've done awesome job. Just back from it today. Look at that. Abby does. Young Abby does my hair.
Abby's obviously my niece.
Yes, of course.
I get a family discount for
Well, it's looking very good.
Thank you very much. It's looking great, but yeah, no, it's So
Abby's awesome. What a lovely girl.
She's a fantastic stylist. That's what you call them.
Stylist, yes.
Aye, she's really.
I've got a lot of hair, and she always manages to make it look less like a burst mattress and more like a heat of hair. So she does it.
Yeah, heat of hair. So it's a small world, isn't it? Ken, really.
It is. But then, of course, we did whiskey talks together, and that's the reason I made the connection, because I've been speaking about going to whiskey talks getting my hair done. And your wife had said, "Oh, I think my husband's doing something like that." And it wasn't until I met you, I thought, yeah, it's like, oh my God, that's exactly who she was speaking about. How did I not?
That's time I've done one of them. I didn't even care that things exist. I mean, first time I've done one, the format was great. I loved it. It really was. It was great. Speaking about the casks and all this, and I can be quite honest. What I say, but in a good way, in a nice way, like, and the panelists that was we were all very much getting of the same kind of idea on it was with casks, and it's an open market for all these different styles of casks you can have, and I guess you have to roll it back to it is the whiskey industry we're in, and it's whiskey we're selling, it's not strong tequila or strong, even sherry, sherry casks, they're overly sherry, you just the whiskey flavour has to lead always, or be in balance with what it wants. I think that always has to be to a certain extent. But having to be more creative is better. But we kind of restricted up to a certain extent with the legislation, the Scotch Whisky Act, and all the rest of it, keeping it very traditional and very this and very that. But there's a lot of things you can't do. There is, but still keep.
Benromach experimented quite a bit, didn't you? I mean, you guys played around with you do your special release every year.
Sometimes, it's very different. We did stuff years ago in the early years, because when we started up, Ian Urquhart, sadly Ian's not with us anymore. He was my managing director, and the whole thing, because of the size of Benromach, it was only a 10.5 mash. We're only doing 5 mashes a week, so it was quite small. And most of the big distillers couldn't really do anything on a commercial size, because it was very restrictive to do anything. And I remember, it must have been 1999, that's what it was. We did a ton batch of malt, and it was malted. It was in conjunction with some distiller and a malt or whatever, it's an us again. And they came to us because they couldn't run this ton batch. Berwick was the name of the barley back then. Berwick, was it? Something like that. I think it was Berwick, I think. So they asked us if we would run it through the still, a ton batch. And it was actually malted in a garage floor because they couldn't do it on any other level. So they did that, and then it came in bags, 50 kilogram bags it came in, again, which was pretty hefty lifting it, Ken. So we fed it in and bypassed the weir, just fed it straight into the hopper, like Ken, whatever. And we did this ton batch, because we could, and we got whatever three hoggies it would, Ken. And one hoggy was for us, and one was for Monster, and one was for whatever, like Ken. And it was that little things that started off that we could try little batches within what was legally deemed whatever, okay? But the main thing we did try back then, the year after, was the organic whiskey. There wasn't really organic whiskey. There was some distillers had used organic barley or organic malt, but it was never fully accredited from like the Soil Association or such like, So we went to the Soil Association back in 2000. And it was their first full accreditation for single malt. So they looked at the whole process, and there were some things that were always going to cause issues, was heads and tails and, cross contamination. So when you started off, you had to really start it as if you were starting a distillery from scratch, So you had to do, wash distillation, a blank, and then build up the fades so you could do it that way, which is not how you normally do it. You had to do that at the start. And you had to get the barley to come from an organic farm. We just bought organic malt. Mm-hmm. It was actually Beards and Inverness, which we still do, but we purchase it now. We have been doing for the last 10 plus years from the farmer. Okay? Yeah. So we were just buying it through the malt stand. They were dealing it through the grain merchant. But after a while, we thought, once we start producing the organic, we thought, we maybe need to show a bit more provenance here and all that sort of stuff. Again. So we've been doing organic for quite a lot of years. And then the farmer that we did use stopped the cereal part of his organic farm because you could do bits and pieces then anyway. So he had to pull out, so we had to find... it was at that point we decided to go and get another farmer. And it had to be, but it was my brother-in-law. It was actually Sally's husband. Okay. Okay. No Which way. Was nothing. He'd done barley, malt and barley before, but for quite a lot of years it was just feed barley, okay? And he knew what he was doing. And he researched it. He knew that drying process was the key thing. Most of the time, they dry too quickly, too high the temperature, and it just fries it. You can't get it. You do it slow, cool and slow, whatever. So we did that, and that was back in it was crop 2013, and it became Spirit 2014, start of the year. I did it at the start of the year, okay? Because the maltsters want these wee shitey batches, as they call them, okay? Through all the special varieties and all that, do all that kind of stuff. For breweries as well, okay? So we did that 2014, and then every year after that, we've been doing the single farm, and then, was it last year? We started bottling from the single farm. I had to actually remind my previous employer that was the first year of the single farm, and then the marketing team decided to wake up and do something about it. After I reminded them, there's a lot of changes in personnel. So, and that's how kind of me being there all that time, I can remember these. I forget stuff as well, and then I remember it, whatever. I have to write a lot of stuff doing, or I do forget, So
yeah. That's what actually doing right now as you're speaking. I've been writing stuff down so I can come back and ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a time you could run a distillery without a computer. When I started, there was no computers at all. Didn't need one. Did not need a computer to run a distillery at all. Okay, even when you did the end of the week compare, as we call it, all the equations were done. Again, for master and extract and yield and all that. That was all written down and done. I had to double check, so I would do it and then check it and then treble check it to make sure my figures was okay. Look at something because you didn't have formulas and all that. It didn't exist. Well, okay. That, of course, that did change over time, like the old compare, a bit like the way it used to be done previously with old brewers' ledgers, which is great because they had it in Benromach. Fantastic. These big, thick ledgers. And it was a brewer's ledger, and you'd open up, and it was, you should see it, it was brilliant. Yeah? It was the brewers writing all the mashing information and the fillings and the charges and everything. And the handwriting was beautiful. You should have seen it because it had to be. You kind of hate the scribbling nonsense that young kids have nowadays. Okay, it had to be because the revenue and customs, it had to be legible, or you'd be in trouble. It had to be legible. Okay, so and they're fantastic. I mean, I was looking up ledgers. There was a ledger when I was at Benromach from 1949, and the one I've actually got two here at Coleburn from the 1950s and the 1960s. It's great because it's all proof gallons, Ken, which is a nightmare because you've got proof and you've also got gallons in there. So you try to work back two different, Ken, and try to you understand what the hell they're on about, Ken. And of course, the Sykes hydrometers and everything, it was just, But the previous employer, Ken, we were released in 1949 Benromach, years ago. And it was a 55-year-old Benromach. We managed to get one cask. It was a single cask, obviously. And we released this single 1949. And there was an old ledger at Benromach. Get a big thick thing, Ken. It's like something like Lord of the Rings when you open it up, Ken. Yeah. And I knew, and I asked what the date was when it was distilled in 1949. It was January 1949. In the surest cats of hairy beast, I opened up the book, and that week of the production was on it in January. 30th of January, that's when it was, 1949. And of course, you open and there it was. So what we did was we took a photo, scanned it, photo, whatever they did, kid, and that became part of the packaging. So it was like a scroll, went with every bottle, that kind of stuff, like kids. So they loved all that. But it's funny when you see that ledger, it's fantastic.
And not enough of that was kept. I mean, obviously, I'm at Glengarry. We haven't got a big archive at all because at the time, folk were just, being efficient. Like they were doing the other stuff. It's just, but then at Ardmore is also ours, and they've just kept everything. And we've got all the old ledgers there with the beautiful cursive handwriting of every in and out that came to the distillery.
I mean, a lot of it's skin. In Benromach, there was some, and there's a lot of stuff in the 50s, that era, because the distillery was transferred to DCL, S&D in the 50s. It was owned by an American company after the war. So there was a lot of photographs because they direct oil firing. Apparently, Benromach was the first direct oil. I'm going to speak a little bit about Benromach because obviously 27 years, Ken. But we'll get on to Coleburn eventually. Well, but anyway, so it was the first direct oil fired stills. Used to have a wooden mast in as well in the 1920s. I don't know why it had a wooden mast in, probably because it was cheaper material to use, but for no other reason, So, but we were kind of limited on the stuff, and it's probably even less here at Coleburn. So there's MD out there that has got old photographs of Coleburn of anything. It's really thin. I've looked for the last 2-3 months, and there's not a lot out there. The previous owner, who was United Stars, obviously S&D when it closed, there was that floods in 2002 in Murray House, Trinity Road, and it wiped out a lot of the archive stuff of its older distilleries. And Benromach was the same, lost a lot. They did come round with what they found. They tried to retrieve, and there was some stuff of Benromach there, and they gave Gordon MacPhail, us, this old map, and it was of the old water pipework in Forres, and it was on linen, so it's actually all the old pipework from all. It was great to see, and it was Charles Doig who did it, because obviously,
wow.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and it was great. And it was actually in linen, and actually, so we had to take. It was so big, it was massive, of the original fire clay. It was pipes all the way through Forres, because back then, trouble with that was Forres built up over the the water pipes, so the water pipes was always a challenge. In my previous employer was upgrading them, which luckily they have pretty much done. Okay, don't really have that same problem here at Coleburn, because it's all brown and green soil. It's all easy woodlands. A lot of woods, it's 70 acres here, so it's quite a large site.
Okay.
And there's a lot of woodland as well, and the distillery's hidden behind the trees and such like. So retrieving the last 7 weeks has been architect, planning consultant, process engineers, and raking about looking for water, which is some of the things I've been doing again. It's just crazy. I mean, there's water here. I'm sort of getting old reservoirs back up and running that hasn't been operational for 40 odd years, Open up a sluice gate in a little reservoir, which is a distillery. It hasn't been open for half a century, this sluice gate, and I'm looking at it thinking, how am I gonna get this? Because I obviously had to clean it out and just, so I had to drop the water level, and I thought, oh my word, how am I gonna get this? And it did. It opened, this old sluice gate coming up, and I dropped down. And then just so I could find out, you've got to find water. It's the first thing I did when I came here. Water's my thing, by the way. Working at Benromach, it's been a thing for decades. Okay? You got to find water. You can't make whiskey without it. Okay? So I had to find out. So we got the old reservoir and dropped the source, and then found out the springs. There's bloody springs everywhere. Okay? It's like a Zebedee's party up there. Like, just springs everywhere. And I thought, that'll do me fine. Like loads of lovely clear water. Like, okay? So it's great having it. It's it's one of the first things you do, and then we've got the design and all the rest of it. Okay? So and that's one of the exciting things about the.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a massive project, and like your career's kind of come full circle. You said something lovely at the start before we went live. You said it's a nice way to finish your whiskey journey. It's like you kind of went into the industry when it was on a bit of a downturn in the 80s. And now you opened started a close, and you're doing the same thing again. Like
again to a certain extent. This time I'm doing it probably more. I mean, I was a stillman then. We did start up physically, Ken, but here I'm obviously heavily involved with the owners and also the architects, the planning consultant, process design, everything. So kind of spearheading a lot of that, which is great. It doesn't faze me at all in any way, shape, or form. Okay? In fact, I'm looking forward to it. Okay? I love working with contractors. They're my bane of my life, contractors. Like, Ken, they always say that Keith, he's the one that swears a lot, isn't it, Ken? So, in a nice way. But it's great to have that opportunity. I mean, this is what I'm here for. This is not going to be another Benromach for me. Benromach is what I had all my life, all my working life, and that's what I did. This is just what I can do in my last 5 to 10 years, because I can. As I said earlier on, Kat, 2-3 years ago, I would never have taken this on because I still had to achieve stuff that I felt I needed to do at Benromach. In 2 or 3 years from now, I would never have had the time to do this project fully to the time I decide to retire or whatever happens, Ken. So, but it's great. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, Ken, and some of the stuff. I mean, this week was, again, raking about for water, because there's a few water sources here. So I find the main one, there's another one, a spring source on top of the hill, and it feeds all the domestic offices here, the distillery cottages. But It's in the heat of hell, and it's an absolute nightmare. I walked up and looked across, and I thought, oh, me. This is like Bear Grylls. It was terrible. I thought, there's no way I'm going to make it up. I'm going to do myself an injury. Again, there's trees doing and on, and there was the proper route. Again, you couldn't get to it. And I thought, and I'm thrawn. I really am thrawn. And I thought, I'm going to have to get up that Springs. Ken, 20, 30 years ago, it would have been easy. But anyway, so it was coming along, and I could see another route, but it was like there was an opening in the trees, and you was just up right through the forest, right up. And I thought, and I had a guy with his the kind of handyman here with his dog, Kyle. Dog's called Kyle, believe it or not. Yeah. So we thought, are we gonna go for this? And we knew it was like straight up. That it was just like, and there wasn't really a defined route. So we poked the heads through the trees and on. The branches were scalping us in the face, and I'm thought, oh, Keith, you're just stupid sometimes, cannot. But something kept on saying, man, you're going to have to go up that hill, okay? And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Okay? Anyway, so we just kept on going. And then once we were committed, but we didn't ken the terrain. And of course, we went up, and I thought, oh, the Springs are just in a clearing over there. They were in a clearing at the top of the hill. Once we got through the trees, we had to go right down into a gully and climb back up again. And I'm thinking, oh, no, okay. And I'm the lightest guy. I'm a big enough guy. And I'm like, and the guy that was with us, he's just a scrawny wee creature, okay? And he's like, come on, man. I said, it's okay for you. I said, you imagine I've got two of you carrying, right? So anyway, we made it to the Springs, and it was just, you couldn't get a vehicle or anything up there. It was just unbelievable, okay? So I finally got up there, like, Ken, and I thought, I'm gonna have to get doing again. And I thought, I was gonna take the easy route. And Bob says, no, you can't take the easy route because it's not easy. And I thought, oh, no, you're gonna have to climb up the hill again. So I had to come back to why I came, like, Ken. And of course, when we came back, we couldn't work out how we came through the trees. We thought, no, again, I thought, this is just stupid. Keith, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Again? Yeah. So anyway, and I said, I could hear the road at the bottom of the hill. And I thought, I'm just going to go straight through the trees. I couldn't beat this, I just went straight through. I know my face, and I had branches coming my lungs, and it was doing my shirt, and what I read up. And I really had to talk to myself that evening. I thought, stop that nonsense again. You're too old for that. 30 years ago, you could have done that stuff, but no, anyway. But I was just trying. I had to get up there today, and I got up again. But next time, I'll just get the guys to go up, and they can clean out and all that sort of stuff. So, but that's just me. I had to kind of do that. And the week before.
Dedication to water. You're a man that likes a water source.
Oh, I'm just crazy. The week before, this is even a better. Up beside the reservoir, we cleared it out. And I was waiting to get a water sample inside it. And there was a wee kind of ditch beside the sluice gate. And I thought, I had my boots on, but it's that rigger boots. I should have had my wellies, Ken, but I thought it was me, Ken. So I thought, well, I'll just jump into the ditch thinking it was just so deep. And there was like mud on top. No. I jumped in, didn't I? And I was wrecked up over my knees. I was yarded. I was absolutely yarded. It was over my feet. And of course, Numpty here had his cream chinos on, didn't he? Ken? And you should have seen the state of man. I thought, Keith, what are you doing, man? Ken? So I'm traipsing down into the office here, absolutely covered. And I've only been here a few weeks, and they're looking at me thinking, which planet this come from, like, yeah? So, I've had fun for a few weeks here.
For anyone who needs a translation of the word yerded.
Yeah. I'll show you a photograph of what the yerded means.
I would love to see when you watch back on YouTube, it puts up like the what am I trying to say? Like the
subtitles, does it?
Subtitles, thank you.
Wow,
and like, I'd love to see what it comes up with for yerded.
That's a better that, like, yeah. So, but what's the? I thought myself, I had another talk with myself that day as well. I thought, Keith, stop it. Enough. But I've been great. I mean, it's been great fun, like, Kim. I'm looking forward to the whole getting the distillation going again here at
So what's
Coleburn.
the time scale for you for getting spirit
Probably
running?
if I can get a mash doing in 2026, I'll be happy.
Okay.
But there's just a lot. We're doing a lot at the moment. We're just at the concept stage, or the embryonic stage, as you call it. That's where we're at now, and we're spending a lot of time making sure we kind of get everything right. And there's a lot more. I mean, back in '98, you just put in a gas oil boiler, a diesel boiler. It was cheap as chips, and that. But it's kind of different now, and the owners, Dale and Mark, have got a strong passion for making it as sustainable as possible. So that's where we're kind of spending a lot of time making sure we get the right information and apply it to the distillery. Hence the reason why we are building a new distillery down. I say a new distillery, but it's going to be a craft size of distillery on the distillery site. The drive is not to use the existing buildings, and the main reason for that is so we can utilize as much of the technology as we possibly can, because the distillery here the excess energy, the heat recovery systems, will be utilized in the rest of the site, because D&M is part of the Whisky resort. It's not just a distillery. So they're opening up a bistro, or a kitchery as it's called here as well. That's like the focal point for people coming in. And the whole master plan was a hotel, and there's going to be log cabins and events area and such like, Ken, which is quite ambitious. It's huge in Ken, but we're just having to do it bit by bit. So that the main three projects at the moment is going to be the kitchery, or the bistro, which is imminent. We have the own brand whiskey, which I can't speak too much about, but it's imminent as well, which I'm kind of heavily involved in. And of course, the distillery, which is, the kitchery's planning through for that, but the distillery as well. So the distillery will be the last of the three projects but yeah, it's going to be at least 2 years, but I'm hoping back end of 2026, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes with that. So yeah, but it will be of a craft size, 1 to 2 tons, anything from 100,000 to 1 million litres, but I doubt it's going to be initially that size. Very much doubt, but it just depends, Ken. The style of whiskey were there, It's the thing is that the style of whiskey is a funny one, because it's whatever the owners want, Dale and Mark, and I can make any kind of style of whiskey they want here. You could say, "Oh, what was Coleburn before?" Well, you tell me what Coleburn was used in the blending process. It's very rare. Coleburn single malt whiskey is extremely rare. There's a bottle just behind my left lug that's it's the Rare Malts 21-year-old. It's an old one, but I think Gordon MacPhail bottled in 1972, but it's so rare, Coleburn as a single malt, because it was used in some of the Usher blends. I think it was used in the Johnny Walker Red label and such like. So, yeah, I mean, some of the tasting notes is light and fruity, which is funny for absolute. Light and fruity, every whiskey can make a bit fruity to a certain extent, with a touch of smoke. And again, where the smoke came from, I suppose whiskey from the 50s and 60s would have had that, but yeah, during the 80s, it wouldn't have any smokiness in here, like I wouldn't have thought, Ken. So really, it's a blank canvas there as well, like, Ken. It'll be single malt. Mm-hmm. I would probably put my money into this unpeated, to be quite honest with maybe the odd rogue batch of peated getting thrown in there. But yeah, it'll be traditionally an unpeated Speyside, I would have thought. But we'll just see what the owners want. I'll give them whatever type of whiskey they want to produce to a certain extent. But yeah, sustainability just seems to be quite a driving force for Dale and Mark, which is, I mean, most distilleries are. We all know that the distilling industry is at the forefront of heat recovery systems and such like, but it's just, I guess there's so much change going on and there's so much options out there, and it's not just the whiskey industry; it's just everywhere. And doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be wrong at the moment because the answer isn't there. The ultimate fuel doesn't exist. It isn't out there. The whiskey industry has always been driven by carbon-based fuels, fossil fuels. We have to move away from that, obviously, but we can't do it with the flick of a switch. And there's nothing at the moment that is absolutely going to replace it, though the industry is doing some great things. There will be at some point, but not at the moment. You've got electric, there's hydrogen, there's biofuels, there's gas, there's diesel, there's wood. Which one of them is the golden ticket? At the moment, there isn't. But definitely, it's an engineering problem, and that's the thing. Once we can get the fuel and engineer it, then we can't do it. Well, it's just difficult at the moment. It's just a nightmare at the moment. Yeah, it's like when I left Benromach, we were just going through the process of replacing the boiler next year, I think. And again, 10 years' time, it would be so much easier because technology would have moved on, especially with things like hydrogen and stuff like that. It's people going on with hydrogen. It's just, it is, but it's
a world first of that. Distillery not far from.
I know, it's the infancy at the moment. I mean, it's great. It's just, in a few years' time, we'll look back and say, yeah, we've engineered it. It's working. And I don't think there'll be one thing. There'll be a few things that'll be out there, nuclear, is it the how to harness the power from the sun. That's the baby. That's the baby we want. It's up there and it's just shining all the time. However, can't have a nuclear reactor in everybody's house, can we? Okay. So it's an engineering problem we've got there. Simple as that. The science works. You can see it. Every morning you get up, the science is telling you that it works. But how the hell do we get it? And that's the thing, okay? I think it's going to be a combination, but certainly the industry is great. The heat recording, there's so much fantastic things, especially now. Can you see some companies with the MVR, the TVRs, and all that? They do work now. They're bloody expensive, but they do work, and they massively reduce your energy consumption, which is truly what we should be trying to do. So, but yeah. I mean, the MVR, TVR is that ain't new technology in any way, shape, or form. That's old technology. But the clever engineers have worked out now how to work it properly, and it becomes, achievable now. So, great. It's great when you see all this technology coming in, Ken. So, you got a balance.
You're building the distillery from
on site. Yep.
Yeah. So you're utilising the old buildings for some of your resort.
Yeah, the resort, the old buildings are, at the moment, some of the parts of the old buildings have been used for cask management, and we've got a little bottling plant down here as well. But some of the other parts of the building is going to be used for the resort, and then it just makes more sense to have the distillery on a green field, a green piece of land. It's next to close to the distillery buildings as well, and then utilize that excess heat, probably from hot water condensers or whatever we do.
Yeah.
And then that can heat the other buildings, which makes sense to do that. And it's just easier doing that from a new building than a new distillery than try to kind of retro. Because in Benromach we did that. We had the old buildings and we kind of stuck the kit into the old buildings, and truly it was a nightmare, okay? Because when you come to change the copper and all, it was like, I don't know, I'm going to take a reef off. The reef has to come off completely, bit of a headache, and other stuff as well. You were kind of just fitting the kit into a building that it wasn't really designed for, Yeah. But as a new site, new distillery, you can engineer all that out and make it really future-proof it for maintenance and all the rest of it. So, which is great being part of that, Ken. So, it's it's exciting. A lot of work, Ken, but I'm looking forward to it, Ken. But I'll just make sure I keep away from hills and springs and
Yeah.
Up to my knees.
stay away from the water sources.
I think so. I'll get other people to do that kind of nonsense again. But yeah, I've done it once anyway, so that's the main thing.
It does sound very exciting. Are you guys doing anything around about Spirit Speyside? Are you doing like an open day to get people in, or are you waiting?
Not this year. Not this year. I think hopefully we can maybe get something lined up for towards the end of the year, maybe something around about distilled and all that. But definitely for next year, because we don't really have anything. Probably next year we'll hopefully start the process of the building, so we can maybe have tastings. We'll have our own brand whiskies out as well, so we can introduce that into some kind of experience down here as well. So, but yeah, so either the end of the year or definitely next whiskey festival, so it's all good fun. I love visitors. It's great because obviously with Benromach, I was heavily involved in all that, Ken. Mm-hmm. Even this week, it was quite funny. Some visitors came down. It was just to see some of the casts, and they were only meant to be one or two of them, and 18 of them turned up, kid, which is great, kid, unannounced. So, but yeah, you just handle as it comes. But I thoroughly enjoyed that. They were really nice guys. Thoroughly want to knock them, have a wee dram on their carts and check their carts, all the rest of it, kid. So it was good to get back to that kind of thing again, that interaction with visitors. Which I haven't done for a little while. So yeah, it's all good, Ken. So, but yeah, exciting times, very exciting times, Ken. So
it does sound like it. Like it's going to be some enterprise when it's done. We've got a few questions.
Yeah, it's going to be a slow process, but in everything, as I said, the Kitchery, their own brand, and the distillery, and then they can sort of move, and they're very ambitious. It really is, because I think the whole thing was to have this whiskey resort. You can come to Speyside and you can have a whiskey experience at the distillery, you can go to the production, you can have a dram, then you can go and do other things in Speyside, get good food and get meals and magic, great accommodation, such like, Ken. But there was never any way you could have all that in one place, one experience, and that is what Dale and Mark want here, Ken. Good times and good whiskey and just enjoy yourself, so you can have everything here, okay? So, because Dale and Mark come from that. They're both very good musicians, okay? And their father, they come from whiskey background because their father was the manager of the Strathmill Distillery as well. So there's a strong entertainment and whiskey connection there. But that is the whole thing, is to have this whiskey resort. It's a fantastic idea. Fantastic to have that. And you can imagine, we don't really want to have just, and this is no disrespect, to have the traditional visitor centre and the distillery. We kind of want a kind of different type of thing, like a fully immersive, that you come here and you spend more than just a few hours. You spend like days here, a few days here, and you can enjoy the resort and you can enjoy something different at the distillery and such like. So kind of it's that. Of course, we'll still sell whiskey and they'll still be able to come and such like. But that was the whole thing, to have this fully immersive experience. That's what it is. So, it's great to have that. And it's tucked behind the trees, so you've got this kind of secret enchanted distillery. And it is a lovely, it's a beautiful distillery. I walk past the distillery, drive past it every day. The old lady, that's what I call her. The old lady Coleburn. I never thought of that, but it was somebody mentioned that. And somebody described it, the old lady Coleburn. And I thought, what a lovely way of, I don't mean that a sexist way or anything, but it's just a lovely way to describe a beautiful distillery. And the old lady Coleburn. Kind
of makes you think of like a sort of, an older lady that kind of had a bit of land, always wore tweed, probably had the Labrador.
Yes,
and just
exactly what it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that's what kind of, because you've still got the pagoda roofs. It's still there. Two double pagoda roof, which actually one pagoda, because we never had that. They never had that. I keep saying we, but
you do.
Right. The pagoda at Forest was taken down. The kiln, way before D&M ownership. It's a shame because but the one here, there's two here. There's a traditional pagoda, but they've got one of that. It's like a flat top ventilator It looks like a pagoda, but it's like a squash pagoda. Ken, I don't know if you get them in many distilleries, but it's a kind of strange looking thing. And that was for the barley kiln, and then you get the green malt kiln there, which is traditional pagoda you've got. Ken. And it's a lot. It's quite a unique kind of shape. You know, it's like a Scottish pagoda, like, Ken. And then you get to so they got that, and they've got and there used to be an old, because I've been raking about for as much information about Coleburn. It's been really difficult. So if anybody's out there and if they've got anything or can push me, I really want to know. Just for, And the distillery used to have an underground water wheel, and nobody knew where the hell it was. And you can't see, it's not. And then I found one of the old Doig drawings, but there was only one I could get hold of. It was very basic. There wasn't an awful lot of detail. And as sure as anything, it was there where it was the wheel, where the underground water wheel was. And it's still. And I'm going to actually have a rake and lift a few metal plates to see if it's still. But I'm going to do that, and I'm probably going to far down the hole. You do realise that. I'll came up to somebody's Weema, when they've got a wee bit of rope tied around my waist. My fine, I'll not get it again. I'll be wedged in. That'll be me, yeah. So, but I need to find it. It's that kind of things. I like that kind of stuff, like. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I've never heard of an underground water wheel before. That's quite cool.
But it's not so much the underground. It's what was powering it. Though obviously, bloody water's powering it, obviously, Ken. But where's the water coming from? That's the most intriguing thing for me. And we Ken, there's a sump outside, and they said it's full of water at sump. Yeah, I said, and I said, no, really. I'm going to have a look in there as well, like Ken. So yes, that's something else I'm going to have to look at. Like, but it's just interesting things like that. So just any information on Coleburn would be can even go full grass on there.
Have you thought about doing like a community thing? Because I've often toyed with this idea with Glengarry.
Yeah,
I'd love because I know people local in the town have worked there, and I know they've probably got photos and stories. And I've kind of missed my chance a couple of times with people that knew worked there, and I know have passed recently. And I keep meaning to just kind of put a shout out and just say, look, come to the village hall. There'll be drums. Bring your pictures.
I think that's probably what I'll have to do, because somebody's going to have something. It's going to be in a wee suitcase in a loft or something. 100%. Wee leather suitcase that's covered in stew. It hasn't been looked at, and there are these photos for forever. Okay, but the trouble, because it's been closed for 40 years, if you was a young man back then, using your 20s, you're going to be getting on a bit, Ken. Or even if you're using your 30s or 40s, you're going to be on a wee bit of new, Ken, because it's been closed for as long. But I think you're right, that whole local engagement is probably where I've got a better chance of finding something than maybe just an archive or a whatever, because I've looked at the National Museum of Scotland and stuff, and wherever, like, Ken, it's really difficult to get anything, like, Ken. But I'm sure there's something out there you definitely let it go.
Jeremy Watt is watching, and Jeremy Watt is our encyclopedia of. Oh, actually, he's just put up a comment. Jeremy Watt's our encyclopedia of distilleries. What he doesn't know is not worth knowing. He said, "Have you checked Elgin Library archive for the blueprints?"
Yeah, that's something I need to check. I have. I've went online with that, but I probably need to go and do a bit of more. I'll go there and get a physical check of it. But yeah, that is. It's an option. I'm going to have to go down to see if there is something there. Yeah. But it's just, I guess it's just filling in a few blanks here that I don't know. And that's the thing, because I kind of just keep raking about for water pipes and stuff like that. I need drawings to let me know where it is, so I don't do myself an injury. Like, yeah. But it's good fun. Don't get me wrong. It's good fun doing all that kind of stuff, but it'll save me a lot of time and getting a lot of rows for the wife coming home with my breeks arms.
You did.
Abs, you should have seen him. She had to wash him 4 times. Cream break. I mean, if I had the breaks I had on, cream breaks. Machina, what an idiot. Imagine getting up here. What a clown. Anyway. That's just Keith, isn't it? But that's the kind of what I'm kind of looking for. And it's great because it's really interesting because, Coleburn's all about, it's like every distillery about the people in the place. I think that's the unique thing about it. Every distillery's got the histories about the people that work there. and there's always that kind of engagement with the town and in Forest, and everybody used to call the distillery the Ben. And you also had Dallas Dew as well in Forest. That was the two distilleries, kid. And Coleburn's just it's a tiny village, it's hardly a village. It's about 7 or 8 houses, and that's it, like, kid. But it's the same water that feeds the distillery that feeds. But we weren't able to use that spring water because apparently somebody filled up a paddling pool down here, and the pier wife at the head of the road got a car shower. Whatever. Shoot the water on out like a shower. So I don't think I'm going to be able to use that for marching or whatever, like, because or I might have to warn them that I want to take a march down. Shower. I can just see the times when I'm going to take a march.
Get a rota. Yeah, get a rota on the go.
Aye, but no, the sauce we've got will be plentiful. So, but yeah, it's getting on. But yeah, certainly every distillery is that kind of connection between the people and the place. Always, Ken. And I think that's what makes distilleries so intriguing to to visitors, Ken. Is that connection, Ken? You've got some of the distilleries are. When I was at Macallan a couple of weeks ago, I went for a meal. Wife took me.
Heard all about it. It was a Christmas present I was hearing.
Oh, did you hear? Sally was with us and that. That's right.
No.
Against the Tinas. It was a Christmas present, that's right. And it was a posh meal. It was quite funny, Ken. There was 10 courses, Ken. Each of the courses started off, and it got bigger and bigger every time. But I mean, you should have seen it for a start. It was just, the food was fantastic. It really was, Ken. It was great. And they got 10 courses, and went to Macallan. I've been to Macallan before, Ken, but you can't imagine Macallan's. It's a fantastic distillery. Like it, love it, whatever you got, but it's a fantastic place to visit. It truly is, Ken. It's an experience going there, Ken. Whether it's traditional or not enough for you, that's entirely up to yourself, Ken. But I enjoyed it when it was there, definitely. And you can imagine that Macallan is it's a distillery once it was just in a wee village, a Craigellachie, and that was a connection between Macallan and all that. But now it's a multinational brand with a huge. It's almost like a distillery is out of place where it is. You can have that distillery in some of the big city as a major attraction and all the rest of it, Ken. And especially having a Michelin chef coming in feeding Keith, Ken. The food was great. Didn't get me wrong, Ken. It was fantastically, Ken. And we've got some lovely whiskey at the end. We've got 18-year-old Macallan, which I thoroughly enjoyed, like, Ken. Macallan never really was a favourite of mine, Ken, but probably because I don't like whiskies that are kind of overly sherried sometimes, like, Ken. And it was never, Ken, a beautiful whiskey, don't get me wrong, Ken. But the 18-year-old Macallan it seemed to remind me of what Macallan used to be like. It was sherried, Ken, but it's a beautiful whiskey, don't get me wrong, but Ken's never. There's so much other whiskies out there that it's more to my taste, but it's still a fantastic whiskey, Ken, and experience. So yeah, it was pretty good. But Ken, it's all that connection with it's the same in Dufton. You've got Glenfiddich, and these are massive plants now and such like, but they're still connected with the town. They're still connected with Dufton and all the rest of it. And Elgin's no different. Elgin's got quite a few distilleries, and as we were saying, Ken, especially from Elgin to Rothes, Ken, you've got Linkwood, and you've got Benromach, and then you've got Longmorn, Glen Elgin, Coleburn, and then you've got Speyburn. So that's the whole, all the way down. And there's a railway line. We've still got the railway line here. Well, I say we've got the railway line, Ken. You can see where the railway line was, and we've got the siding, the railway siding still here at the distillery, because that was quite common to have that, because you used to transport all the casks and barley and everything through rail line, and there's one as well, Ken. So yeah, it was quite common. So, and even the house here, there's a house on site called Station House, Ken. We didn't own that house, but it's further up on the land, further up, Ken. So, but it's great to see that, like, Ken. It's just a bit of history, and you can imagine the trains going by. And they've probably been steam trains as well, whatever, Ken. So, yeah, bygone years. Hello, Mike.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Glad you could join us, mate. Did you enjoy your gin tasting?
It's not quite whiskey, is it? But
well, yeah, gin, the devil's drink. That's what I call it. White spirits. It's the devil. The gin's fine. Ken, I would have a. Because they used to make gin at Benromach. They still do.
of course,
But it's, I would only drink gin if there was nothing else in the cupboard. Put it on. But yeah, it's the devil's drink, as I call it, white spirits. Anyway, yeah, it's.
I'm here now.
Good.
Yeah. I was trying to listen to you on the in the car on the way back, but it just kept losing signal.
Oh, that was okay. You didn't hear the bit when we tried to explain what yerded mean, like Ken. So
we've got some Doric. So we've had some choice Doric phrases tonight. It's been good. I need to ask you as well. What did you say about it? I've never heard it before. You said as true as a cat's a hairy beast. I've never heard that.
True as cat's a hairy beast. That's me. I saying for the northeast of Fraser for a while. Okay? They speak that. They speak a lot of folk for there.
Yeah. Well, my mum's a broker, so I've heard that one before.
But yeah, it's fine to be able to speak Doric because it's just how we speak, and that's it. And it's great, like but you do get some you get some funny looks when you do speak differently. It's not so much that it's the words we use, Ken, and it is a different language because it's not the sound or the way you speak; it's the bloody words we use, Ken. Because I was speaking to someone that worked at the distillery not long ago, and they says, and they were speaking to this guy, and he came from Aberdeen one. And she says, he said a word, Keith, and he says, he called me a gape. She's fae for us. I goes, well, if it was you doing that he called you a gape then. But he called me a gape, and I didn't give it a gape was. And I said, well, you're a silly gape if you didn't ken you're a gape, Ken. And I tried to explain what gape meant. Like, never heard it, Ken. Well, guys,
I was over at Aberdeen Grain the other day. I took the team over. We did a staff day out, so I took them over to Aberdeen Grain to see where our floor malt comes from, and then we finished off at the cooperage. And I've always called the extra bits that come off of the malt the Avens, and I've never known what not to call it. So the guy who runs the Aberdeen Grain, he's from Yorkshire, really lovely guy, Nick. He looked after us really well. So he was talking about the seconds that are coming through the process and the big pile of it that they give to the farmer to take away his cattle feed. I says, "Oh, is that your Yavins?" And he said, "I've got no idea what you just said."
It's great the word that's used, kid. I mean, there's some Doric words I've never heard of. You know, because I suppose there's a lot of different Doric that can't. I mean, if you go across to the coastal way and you go to Cullen and Bucky and you head towards New Aberdour and the Brock and Peterhead, my word, the way they speak there, it's a different market, kid. Really, and then you start coming inland, kid, towards the Buchan way, and it's really thick Doric there, like, kid. But it's strange because obviously when you come for, you can Inverurie, Huntley, Keith, and then it's once you get past Keith, and then if it happens, it gets watered down off it. Ken, when you get to Fochabers, it gets a bit posh, Ken, and you start getting a bit more of the Elginshire, more of the Murrayshire, and it starts to water down, and it's heading towards Inverness, and then the accent. And by the time you get to Elgin, it's a kind of watery Doric kind of Inverness, Ken. And by the time you get Forest, they've kind of got the twang. You get to Nairn, and they're twanging away, and you get to Inverness, and they're just a water shop, Ken. But it's strange; it just seems to move from town to Ken, and you get to Keith. It's just like this. When you get up the hill, up the Thingy Braes, and up the Thingy Braes, the dram. It seems to change there. You go up hill, Ken.
Watery Doric might be my favourite thing that's ever been said on this.
You're into hill after that, like, Ken. So it's strange because it's geographically quite. I mean, I've been in Keith all my days, and I've worked in forests for the last 27 years, driving up every single day again. And it's Colour and Keith. And there's always 2 degrees of a difference between Keith and Forest. Sometimes more in summer. And definitely more in the winter, I can tell you that. Because if I'm at work, or when I would have been at work, in Forest, and it starts to snow, and I'm looking at it thinking, oh, that's not looking great. And I'm thinking, oh, no. If I ever got a tackle in the way home, you get huskies and polar bears coming out of the drum you're like, oh no, what's going on? I've never gotten stuck. I never got stuck once. It was one time we did, but the farmer came and cleared the road and we got through. There was one time. It was one time, and it was coming home, and it was coarse as one thing, and the road was allegedly blocked, or they'd stopped traffic just come out of Fockers going up the dram next. They had a wee barrier up, and I thought, oh, come on, Keith. So I just drove past it, just kept going home. I thought, well, I know I have to go, and I wasn't going to do up the Bucket Road because that thingy brace would have just been silly, And it was fine. I made it no bother at all. You just sort of passed the road, kids. So, but one of those foolish things that you can. I got home, that's the main thing. But never been stuck, So, yeah, but the joys when you're young.
That's it. So, Mike, what's in your glass? I just seen you with a bottle there.
Yeah, it was singing to me just a second ago. I don't think it's the proper cork for the bottle, but I just closed it and it started hissing at me. So it's maybe a cork that I'm not allowed to put back on. So I've gone for Murray McDavid. So your new neighbours.
That's it. Aye, the noisy neighbours. Well, I'm like.
So I've got they've got an Inch Madeira finish as part of their cask craft. So that's my warm up dram, and then I've got the Big Ben 15. It's just a stonker of a dram. I love it.
It's a dodgy signature at the front of it, but don't want to mind with that, kids.
I know you've given your marketing team a headache, haven't you? Because you've not long had a rebrand.
Yeah, it was quite a funny one, that, kids. The question was brought up, Ken. They did ask the signature at the front. That's just whatever, guys. It's you know what I mean. You can leave it on, take it off, do whatever you want with it, It's the industry for me, that, So, I mean, 27 years you just didn't wipe out just because I move on to something slightly different. No. At 27 years always, and that's one of the, as I was saying to Kat earlier on, it's one of the reasons I could leave is because I was given the opportunity to start a process, and then kind of decide when I thought I'd completed it. But that's truly a personal thing that I'm the only one that could have made that decision because I'm the only one that could think. I mean, to be honest with you, in 2018 when it was the 20th anniversary of reopening and we bottled cask number 1, I kind of started to think back then, and we decanted number 1 and all that stuff. I kind of started to think back then that there was a kind of sense of a little bit of a kind of personal achievement of being there at the start and taking it all the way through. And then we took it 21-year-old a few years later. And it was then we had the 10, the 15, the cask strength Benromach, and the 21. And it was kind of then I kind of thought to myself, well, when I started here in 98, I kind of looked ahead with no whiskey. It was just, making spirit. And now we've got all this whole core style, Ken. And I kind of thought, well, you've done more than you ever thought you was going to do. And I guess having that, and that was a completely personal thing for me, that, and nobody else could have kind of had that opportunity if you started somewhere. It's almost like a train journey. Ken, I was lucky to get on at the very first station, and everybody else along that just jumped on somewhere along there and got off sometimes, whatever. But I would just like the opportunity and the privilege to be able to decide when it was time for me and I'd achieved everything I wanted to achieve. And that's what I did. And a lot more. I mean, I would never have been able to do, I would never have been able to do now what I can do if it wasn't for Gordon MacPhail and the third generation giving me the opportunity to be able to come. I would never have been a distillery manager if it wasn't. And everybody says, well, you make your own luck. I suppose you do to a certain extent. You put yourself in a position that things come along, and everybody needs a helping hand in the world. You can never do it by yourself. You'll never ever do that. So,
100%.
and I was lucky to get that kind of opportunity from the especially the third generation that gave me the opportunity. Because I always laugh. It's a story. I've got so much stories. This back in 2000 when my manager retired, there was a funny story of how I got the job as manager, and Bob spoke to me. He says to me, "Young Keith," I used to come young Bob. No, all Bob. Nice to call me young Keith every morning. Aye, young Keith. Aye, Bob. Every morning we came in, say that to each other, and then he retired and told me he was going to be retiring again, and then Bob spoke to the managing director about what his thoughts are and who should take over and just whatever, Kim. And Bob says to me, "So Ian wants to, Mr. Ian as we call him, Ian Hackett wants to speak to you about, what your thoughts are." I thought he would just need to speak to me about the distillery or just whatever. So I went down and he spoke to me about Ken. And I mind speaking to him saying, "No, I thought it'd be great if the distillery became a well-recognised Speyside single malt, and that's really what I'm here to help do." And that was kind of it, Ken. And there was nothing else really said. And then that was on the Friday. And then on the Saturday morning, the wife says to me, she says, "Why is your job advertised in the paper?" And I thought, "Oh, I didn't ken." I said, "Well, I've either gotten Bob's job as manager or I've been sacked. I'm not sure which one it is." So I came in Monday morning and I spoke to the HR wifey, as we called her, because we just had a HR wifey. We didn't have a department of HR. In fact, she was named called HR at that time. Personnel. It's a personnel wifey. Yeah. So I spoke to Maureen. Maureen, I says, "Can you tell me this?" I says, "I've noticed there's an advert in the paper for a stillman at Benromach. So I can only take two things from that." I said, "I've either gotten Bob's job manager or I've been sacked." And she goes, "Oh, Keith, did he not tell you?" I goes, "No." And he said, "Well, you've gotten the job." And I thought, okay. So I said, what we had on Friday was actually an interview. I had no idea. Yeah, but it was great. That's just the way kind of done. And, but that was my interview in all honesty. So I found out I got a job back because my job was advertising. So, but yeah, I mean, it was great back then. And I mean, I would have never got a distillery manager's job for any other reason. And I'm lucky I was given the opportunity, and which is great. It's a privilege to be able to do that and then have that whole journey, especially seeing the products coming through. I mean, it's a personal kind of thing, like, Ken, when you see that bottle of 15-year-old and the 10-year-old, and it's like, Ken, it's been part of it. I never ever thought it was being my whiskey or anything like that, but it's just been part of it because I've worked with so much people over the years, stillmen and guides and visit centre managers. I've had 5 managing directors since I was a kid, and named bond managers and just, head guides, visit centre managers, and, all that kind of stuff, like, Ken. So it's, so everybody's played that part in that whole journey. It's just not me. I've just been the lucky one, like, Ken. I'm the one that gets recognised, like, Ken. I'm like, if you imagine it was like Boyzone and nothing, like, Ken, I'd have been like a lead singer, and that's what it is. He doesn't need bugging out, like, Ken, but he's the one that gets recognised, like, Ken. You know what I mean? That's the distillery manager. He's a lead singer and just bugger all, like,
or just like Ronan Keating. That's exactly the analogy.
That's exactly what it is, like, Ken.
When we sat down at the Whisky Talks, I actually looked across the room and saw you, and I thought, I'm sure that's Ronan Keating.
I just, I know. It was quite funny because we used to get photographs of the whole team, Ken. the distillers, and they didn't last a few years. Kingston into the branding and again the whole deep kid, and it was all distillers standing there like kid. And some of the whiskey talks in master classes used to come up with all the faces like kid. And I used to say, "There you go, that's a distillery boy band, wrong direction." Kid. Yeah, they're a good bunch. I do miss the people at the distillery. You always do, Ken, because it's never about your skin. And I still in touch with them. We'll go for a pint and all the rest of them. But I think they understood where I was coming from. That I had to do it and all the rest of it, Ken. So it was great, Ken. I got a couple of people crying, like, I thought, that's a great reaction, that. Like, I told them I was leaving, Ken. 2 of them cried, and I thought, well, me. Different, like Ken. So, but yeah, you didn't realise that. Yeah, it's nothing stays the same. You got to keep moving on.
This thing keeps going, eh?
Yep, yeah, definitely, Ken. So, but yeah, exciting times here, like Ken. So I'm stuck here by myself at the moment in the office, Ken. This is the excise office. If you look behind me there, you'll see the old fireplace. The old lady there, and the bottle of Swiftmill and the bottle of Coleburn, the 21-year-old rare malts, like Ken. So, but yeah, it's a lovely place and a fantastic place. So is Forest as well. The distilleries are great because they have a real feel-good factor. It's not like a factory, and it's not really like an office environment. I couldn't work in a factory. I've done it before, or even an office environment. Ken. At least we're in distillery manager. You can. I still call myself distillery manager, but whatever the title is, Ken. You get to go and do other stuff, like get yarded up to your knees and get to yourself an injury going through woods and getting lost in the middle of woods and stuff like that again. So I miss all that stuff. Like you missed that story earlier on, Mike, didn't you? But
I did.
Yeah. I had to have a speak to myself because I was doing stuff that I could do 30 years ago, but not now. So yeah, the joys, like but yeah, fun and games.
There's plenty of woods around Coleburn, so you can easily go for a walk around there.
There's plenty of wood. You can't stay wood for the trees, like so it's quite a big site. It's about 70 acres, which is quite a large site. That and it's all, which is great because it gives us more choices of what we can do here, like as such, Ken. So, but I was saying to Kat, obviously the primary objective is to get a distillery up and running here. That's what I am here for, to help out with their own label whiskey as well, their own brand whiskey, which is quite exciting. That's imminent at the moment, and I've been kind of heavily involved in that as well, which is great. That's a side that wasn't too much exposed to with Gordon MacPhail. It was all quite just Benromach, and it was just Benromach. It was all just Benromach, which is great, But here it's kind of different because D&M's a few other things as well as it will be Coleburn in a couple of years' time once we start producing whiskey here again, which is great because it's Coleburn Spirit has been produced for 40 years. It's a bit like Port Ellen, it's a bit like some of these Rosebank. Similar, the distilleries were closed decades and decades, but they are established brands.
When you say 1985 and decades, it makes me feel really old because that's my birth year, and I'm struggling with that already.
Okay,
so
sorry. Yeah, 1985. It does. I mean, when I said earlier on, Kat, we were up the distillery reservoir, and it's never been looked at for probably 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my word! And when I lifted the sluice gauge to drop the water. I thought, oh my word, this place has been looked at for so long. I'm trying to get the sluice gate down again. It's actually the hard bit, So, but it's fun. It's just what I enjoy. Is
it all quite well maintained? Because some of these.
No, it's that's what I kind of had to do for a start, was kind of clear it back and such. But it was there, it's because it's such a good source of water. It's the springs were keeping it nice and clear. What a beautiful clear, Ken. All the time, Ken, but there's just springs everywhere. There's just water everywhere, which is great if you want to run a distillery and make whiskey, Ken. If you got plenty of good, clean, fresh water, it's great, like Ken. So, and there's a free run all the way to the distillery that I can put a pipe in without worrying about houses and roads and railways and all that headache. I had forests, like Ken. So, But it's all good. Like, it's exciting. And, you know, the owners are really, really flexible. They're open. They're really easy to work with, Ken. It's a small company, a lot smaller than what I was used to. I suppose Gordon MacPhail was a small company in a bigger scheme of things, but for Murray, probably one of the bigger employers in Murray, to be quite honest with you, because all the bigger, you know, get big employers now in general, I suppose, Ken. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Gordon MacPhail. Absolutely loved every weekend. That's what people could never understand. They thought, why? Ken, I tells you, I love my job. I love working. Why would you leave then, Ken? Why would you do that? I've given, you know, obviously it's personal reasons, but it's all positive, good reasons of why I could leave, because I could leave something behind and say, well, I've achieved what I want to achieve, Ken. Which you don't often get.
It says a lot about your character, that because a lot of people would be able to sit back here. You know what? I'm on a cushy number here. Do the same thing. I've got a routine, but the fact that you're wanting to push that boundaries, start a project again
there as well. Okay? I can hand it over to the team that was there. Okay? Young Mardo's there, great guy. You know, hand it over to him, and it's just that's the way it should be. And he'll do the same. His time, I remember when I told them. I mean, it was quite a difficult one to a certain extent, Ken, at the time and speak to them individually. And I remember, it's a real funny one, I remember when Bob told me that he was retiring back in 2000, and the way he told me, and I did exactly the same with Murdo, Ken, in exactly the same place, Ken, just because and slightly different reasons, but it was personal reasons there and reasons that I had to do this myself and everything. Okay? And they were all, I must admit, I think they were more shocked than I was. Ken, obviously, like, Ken, surprised me and anything else. But at least I got the opportunity to explain my reasons to everybody, just like what I'm doing tonight. And it's all for the right reasons, Ken. And it's great that I can do that, because sometimes you didn't get that with jobs. You just move on because of people or money or whatever, Ken. But to leave a job that you truly love and you'd built up, people think, why would you do that? I can't understand that. Okay? But the reason is because I could. And I've achieved I've achieved more. I mean, Ken, it's far more than I thought I would ever achieve. Ken? And I've got all the training and Gordon MacPhail put me through all the stuff that I needed to do to be able to do this and become an experienced distillery manager. Camp was asking with the keepers of the Quake. You'll have to keep the Quake. And I was keeping the Quake about 10, 15 years ago, which is quite funny. Ken? And the story with the keepers of the Quake was, it was really because you can nominate, companies can nominate, they usually nominate other people. You can agree or disagree with the whole criteria of keepers of the Ken, whatever. But it's a good thing in general, Ken. And the year I was nominated to be a keeper, Gordon MacPhail had nominated Dennis Malcolm at the same time. So Dennis went down, and you know what the ironic thing? It was Dennis that gave me the start at Glen Grant. I was worked at Chivas, and it was Dennis that had to get someone to replace the guy that was nae wheel at Glen Grant for cover. So it was Dennis that gave me my start. And we both became, it was actually slightly embarrassing, to be quite honest with you, because Dennis was about 50 years in the industry that time. And I'm thinking, there was something didn't quite add up that it took so long for Dennis to have that kind of recognition. But I mean, Dennis didn't know. I don't think he would have ever looked for that type of recognition. He's not that. Neither would I have. It's not what it's all about. Like, but sometimes these things are nice to have. But it was quite ironic when we both got keeper at the same time. And I thought, Dennis was him who gave me the start in the distilleries, like, and he's only, but But
you'll be on for Master of the Quake next, though, will you?
I don't think so. I don't know really. That kind of things is just it's you can. They're great to have, and marketing likes all that, but it's not something ever. Even the Whisky Awards and all. Benromach had a lot of these awards, and it was great. It was recognition and all this, but truly, what do they mean? Ken? It's sitting down with somebody that enjoys your whiskey is probably more rewarding than a silver medal or a gold medal, all that stuff. But there is a place for that kind of thing as well, again. So, but certainly somebody saying, "Oh Christ, I tried a whiskey and it was really good. I enjoyed that." That's me reward. It's really rewarding up for anybody that works. Not just the manager, but the distillers and everybody that's involved with it. It's a kind of personal kind of thing. You've got that because you are making a product that people are going to enjoy.
Definitely. We've had a few questions rattle in for you as well as we've been chatting.
Okay.
I'll need to go back and see if I can find them. Mike's much better at keeping an eye on the chat, but you weren't bloody here. So I've just not been doing it very well. Oh, there was one, somebody was asking about which one the Benromach expression you like best. The organic one or the...
Well, it's definitely going to be difficult for me to answer which is the best, and which one of the Coleburns I like best, because it's so bloody rare. I don't think I've hardly ever tasted Coleburn, to be quite honest with you. Like, yeah? Hopefully I will at some point in the future. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I always go back to Benromach 10-year-old. Always. The 15's a fantastic whiskey. 20, well, the organics are fantastic. They are, but the 10-year-old is kind of that. I think what it is, Ken. It's just the one, because it was a first age statement, and it's truly the one that reflects the true Benromach, and that real deep, rich maltiness, and that lovely, probably more smokiness than any of them, especially the 15. And it's truly a reflective of what we aim to achieve at Benromach. And it's always the one. I remember when I left, when I was leaving Benromach, I had to go and ask for it. I bought plenty of cases of Benromach before I left. Again, so I was stocked up for the quite a lot of months and whatever years to come, because it is my favourite, the Benromach 10-year-old, Ken. But I mean, a lot of people love the 15 because it really is truly a wonderful whiskey as well. But we've all got that kind of certain little flavours that you love better than others, Ken. So yeah, for me, it's always a Ben 10. Always, Ken. It's just got that, Ken. The cast strength as well, because it's the Ben 10, but obviously, Ken, and you can just tweak a little bit more with the up and down with the, and it's non-chill filters and all that kind of stuff, Ken. So, but it's definitely the Ben 10 for me. Always has been, and it always probably will be. I'll be quite honest with you, Ken.
It's a lot of people's first kind of foray into peat, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I like stateside. I don't like peat."
Yeah, some I think it's too much of the 10, but especially if you add a little bit of water, it does kind of excite the smokiness a bit. But
yeah,
it's just everything, it's just the sherry character's there as well. And that lovely maltiness, that Ovaltine Horlicks kind of flavour that comes through, kind of real richness, which I just love, Ken. But I mean, I like so much of the kind of whiskies. It's, as I said, smoky whiskies is one of my favourites as well. Ardbeg and Lefroy and just them all. I just love. They're all so different, Ken. Yeah,
that's it, isn't it? There's a different whiskey for every mood, isn't there?
Oh,
you can be right in the mood for something.
Aye. Some distilleries are fantastic. I mean, I was in Islay 3-4 years ago. It was the only time I've been to Islay. What a fantastic place. I mean, you've been to Islay. It's just a fantastic distilling heritage they've got there. And some of the distilleries are Bowmore. What a fantastic distillery, Ken. And yet you went to Lefroy. You went to the manager's office. There ain't another manager's office that is better than that. It's truly wonderful, okay? You sit there and you're looking at bloody swans. You think, really, Ken? And they're up, Ken. They must be, I don't know what it is. They must be discharging the ale out into the sea. I don't know if they are, Ken, but there's a funky little bit that the swans seem to like anyway, Ken. And I'm thinking, oh, man, this is just great. Jura as well. Fantastic bay they had there. And it was just wonderful, wonderful distilleries. Even Kalila. Ken, when you look at the big windies at Kalila over the thing, you think, oh, I'm going to have to go back to Islay again.
It sounds like it.
It feels like you're there.
The only thing I didn't like was the roads. I mean, the roads were barely roads. Have you ever been minding the road? They're unbelievable. They just seem to lay the tar on top of the peat. And there's no hardcore, there's no foundation, there's nothing. And it's just, you're up and down. I'm thinking, I'm thinking, this can't be for real, this. There's just no way they can have roads like this. And I thought, it was for real. It was unbelievable. But yeah, the roads were something. But fantastic place. Truly was. Like, loved it. Loved it. Okay. What's not to like about it? Like, yeah.
The only thing I don't like about Islay is when you get back off the island and then you have your first whiskey afterwards. It seems so pale because you're constantly being hit
whiskey that just doesn't have anything to say. It is quite.
It takes you a wee second to readjust.
It's just different. I know. It's true. It's a mecca really for whiskey drinkers. You go there, and it's just you see these old style distilleries. But Bowmore, I truly did love Bowmore. It was just the whole, and the distilleries weren't polished. They weren't, they were just bloody working. It's a bit like Highland Park. I don't know what Highland Park's like now, but certainly when I went there, I thought the visitor centre was fantastic. The big malt, they're all crazy stuff they do. But you go around the distillery and it's not polished, it's not this, it's not that. You go to the still house and the stills are just minging, they're unlacquered, man. You think this is the way it should be. This is a real working distillery, kid. You got the turn room and the wash backs are everywhere. They're just all over the shop and it's just a bit funky, kid. And that's what distillers would have been because I did kit in and it was a kind of quirky finesse, kid. And I loved that. And you could smell it and see it and nothing was something. And that's the last thing you want to do is go to the distillery and it's intrinsically clean. You just look if you can name making anything in there, like Ken. But yeah, I love a distillery that's a little bit kind of rustic. Would be the word. That's it, rustic.
Rustic.
Yeah. Highland Park was rustic. That's what I'll say about Highland Park. Fantastic.
It's a little bit like Glen Scotia and Springbank when I visited them for the first time. But, everything's like a little bit dirty and a little bit, you're kind of walking over the peat pile to get onto the next part of the tour. I really liked that about them.
It wasn't what I expected, but I loved it. I absolutely, it was great. It really was like, Ken. This is good. That's what you wanted the distillery. It's a working distillery. There's decades and decades of people working there and tradition and families and it's all heritage again. So that's what distilleries should be like. Definitely, I would never overlook in these intrinsically sterile kind of. But that distilleries play a part in the industry. Of course they do. Okay, but it's certainly never installed kind of distillery. I've kind of worked at to a certain extent. But definitely a place for everything. Like
Mm-hmm. Ian Bruce is on. Good evening, Ian. Watching on YouTube. He's asking what blends or fit blends was Coleburn Kintford supplying back in the day?
Fitzat?
Fit blends was Coleburn Kintford supplying back in the day?
Oh, it was the Johnny Walker Red Label. It's the Usher blends. I think it was for that, like Ken. I think that was the main one it was for, like Ken. So I mean, I think it was light and fruity, so it kind of lends itself quite a bit for blending to a certain extent, like Ken. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, again, it wasn't one of the biggest distilleries. It had quite a large mass size here, but it was limited to the washbacks it had, so it couldn't really produce a huge amount. Sure. So it kind of fell silent. Similar to what Benromach was like, it had problems with water supply and such like. And I guess S&D, they kind of looked at a lot of the distilleries and made that decision and kept the ones open that they thought was more profitable, could produce more. I don't know, and it was a long time ago, but certainly the smaller ones seemed to fall by the wayside, and unfortunately Coleburn was one of them, Ken. But luckily, I mean, the buildings have been well kept by the owners, Dale and Mark and D&M Winchester. Very well kept. I was so surprised at how well the old distillery buildings are compared to what we had, what was left for Benromach, Ken, which wasn't that attractive, to be honest with you. And that's true to us, I'll admit that, Ken. There's a lot of
Benromach had sold a lot of the kit though, hadn't they? A lot of the
it was all gone. Well, it was cannibalized would be the word. Yeah. And most of the kit most of it went here as well, but it was left for quite a while, Ken. But it was all gone. But most of the kit would have been cannibalized. But yeah, it wasn't you know, the roofs weren't in great condition, and the pagoda roof had gone, and it was most of the roofs were old sheeting, or it was white asbestos roof had been put on. Not the most attractive again. But here, it's all slated roofs, everything. So it's like and you've still got the 2 pagodas as well, like, yeah. But but they're going to get utilised as part of the whole Whisky Resort, and it'll allow us to put the new distillery down here and use the energy as much that's sustainable as we can to heat the rest of the building. So it's quite ambitious, but it's very, very it's exciting to be at least a little part of that. So I'm a little kind of link in the whole chain to a certain extent, like Ken. So because certainly Whisky Resort and entertainment is not my thing, like Ken. So, but obviously making whiskey is, I don't kind of do anything else to be honest with you. Like, I'm useless at everything else, like Ken. So, and whiskey's been most of my working life has been whiskey. But as I said, never ever thought I would get into it. I just kind of accidentally fell into it. That's a circumstance and everything, like so.
But if it wasn't whiskey, what would you have?
I don't know. You know something, Mike. I mean, as a youngster, you always wanted to do this and do that and all the rest of it. Certainly, electronics was something I was and my son's now an electrician or apprentice electrician, Ken. So, and I see him and I think, oh, shit, I like to do that when I was younger, Ken. But you got to remember, I was when I left school to look for employment, it was the mid 1980s, and it was not great. It truly, to get a job, especially an apprenticeship, it was like hen's teeth. You just couldn't find them, couldn't get them. They didn't exist, Ken. And it was just, I mean, if a loon got an apprentice job for him, you thought he won the lottery, Ken, because there just wasn't. There was none of that back then. It wasn't great, Ken. You can learn to appreciate that more new as you get older, jobs and employment and all the rest of it, Ken. So, I mean, that would have been, certainly been what my son's doing, something I truly want to do. But whiskey, I kind of fell into it. I really did. It was not what I said. My father did it, and I really didn't want to do it. It was just, Ken, even remember the early experiences of, because I get asked that, what was your early experiences of whiskey, Keith? And was it your dream job? And a distillery manager, wow, fantastic job. And all that. But you never started thinking that. It's just, because I worked from warehousing through to, I was lucky to be in the right time, place, all that kind of stuff. Okay? But I remember when I was younger, and I didn't know how whiskey was made and all this. And when I was about 9 or 10, and my father used to work at Glenfiddich. He was a warehouseman, most of his working life as well. And he used to take me and my brother up to Glenfiddich, and the warehouseman used to rotate and check the fire doors. Glenfiddich had a lot of warehouses, Ken. The Dunnage warehouses and the big rack ones, and they just started partising then and that. And this would have been the 1970s, early 80s, late 90s. And we used to go up on a Saturday and Sunday, and do the fire doors at Fiddick. And me and my brother used to run up and down the warehouses, checking the fire doors to make sure that they'd been closed for the inside or whatever, or wasn't left open, whatever. Okay? And we used to run up and down all the warehouses, and there's a lot of warehouses. I mean, my dad was using child labour. That's what he was doing, basically. Okay? I think he used to give us ice cream on the way home. I can't remember that. But anyway, I let my brother used to tell me that's what he used to do, like, Ken. So we used to do that and run up and down. We were fit, Ken. And we did that, and that was, and I remember the smell of, because you could smell when you got into the warehouses, you could smell that kind of sweet, and I always thought it was a sweet, salty kind of, and I didn't know why it was salty, but it was just something, and you could smell it. It would run up and down the warehouses, and I thought, okay. And there used to be bungs lying outside for the warehousemen, obviously, just throw them all bungs or whatever. With the clutes, Ken, because the bungs had corks, and the clute, the Hessian for them. And I always remember that as an experience. I thought, oh, I'm never going to do this for a living. That's what my dad does, okay? And also, when I used to, when we first moved back to Keith, when I was really young, we bed with my grandfather. in a ferrum just outside Keith, the drum ferrum. And because we didn't have a house in Keith that time. And so there was me and my parents, me and brother, my grandfather was by himself. So we'd been in the drum ferrum. My grandfather used to, I can't get it, my mother used to, take up bloody loons out of the house. They're just deer my head in, okay? So my grandfather used to take us along the Larry. And I didn't think how far we was going in his Larry. It was a big flatbed, again, the drum ferrum. And he used to take us through to the Inchgower, down inside Bucky. And it was for the draft, okay? So for whatever reason, my grandfather used to drive in about then. Come on in, you come and you eat the Larry, and this place was. And we went into the mash house, and the stink, because they were, the big open mash tun. It was just throwing the draft, again, steaming, stinky draft. And I'm like, I went in, and my grandfather went to see the mashman. I said, "Come on, let me go back in the Larry. I can't stand this stink." So I go back in the Larry and sit there, and then 10 minutes later, my grandfather would come out with this bottle of lemonade. And I'm thinking, why is he getting a bottle of lemonade? And he would stick the bottle of lemonade under the seat of the Larry. I can't understand. And I was there with my breather, and my grandfather went back into the mash house again. Okay? And I said to my breather, I'm a bit thirsty, I said, do you think your grandfather noticed I just taking a wee sup of his lemonade, So you Kev, I did, didn't you? Okay. Right, and it was a bottle of haze lemonade, because it said haze lemonade. We had haze lemonade. So I went and I teen off the top and then a wee hoping. Oh my God! I thought my eyeballs were coming out, and I was like, and of course I couldn't tell my grandfather, because my grandfather was a big guy. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't. I put the top back on and put it underneath, and all the way home, I was sitting beside the window in my face, roll the window because I was dying. And I couldn't work out why lemonade tasted so bad. And I'm thinking, why is this is just wrong? And I never knew for years and years until I actually started working in the whiskey industry exactly that it wasn't a lemonade I actually did. Yeah. And that's the two experiences I had with whiskey very earlier on, so I'm surprised.
That's a great story.
Completely, but I never forget the smell and the taste of that in haze lemonade. The thing is, in Keith, there was never any lemonade inside a haze lemonade bottle, because that's what they used to buy. When they used to drink it, they used to, let's go and get a lemonader. That's what they called it, a lemonader, and they fill up with clear out. It was a lemonader. It was never a Coke bottle, it was a lemonade bottle. Haze lemonade, and that's what they'd hear, and I'm thinking, So that was my first experience. I'm surprised I ever got into the industry after that, but that was some drive home, I'm telling you. I'm only about 9 or 10.
Oh, jeez.
My balls. I thought lemonade. I never had tasted lemonade as bad as that in my life.
For those not in the northeast of Scotland, haze lemonade is
lemonade. It was never any lemonade bottles.
Nobody who's anybody drank any other lemonade back in the day.
That's just what.
And you got your 20p back for your glass bottle if you put them back out. Yeah. Back and get your 20p back.
That was I mind that stuff it was all good, so yeah.
That's hilarious. I think that's going to be my name for my independent whiskey bottler when I go solo, the Bung and Clute. I think we're missing a drink. Bung and Clute.
They just stopped that. I mean, they used to. Everything was soft bungs. That's what they called it. The cork and the Hessian Clutes, And they were half easy. They were too easy to go and steal drink out of, because you didn't have to manipulate the cork at all. You just get your bung pull up, put your hand over the top of the bung and put up the side of the Hessian Clute and lift it, and it would just pull the whole thing out, You lever it out, And then they would just go in. I never, but they would have, and they would have just helped themselves to be supply the good stuff, the syrup as they got, and then put the bung back in, and nobody would have kenned the wiser. And then they started everything had to be hard bunged, poplar bungs, and of course you can't when somebody had been in because there was a hole in the bung. Plus, if you put a new bung in, you knew it'd been sampled, or you could check whether somebody had been in it because there was a brand new bung in there, rather than a bung that's been there for whatever years and years. It was kind of dusty and stewy and good. That's what else came. But they got rid of the cork bungs. You didn't see many of them nowadays. But I haven't seen for a lot of years, but they were easy to get into. Half easy, just get yoink them off and get in, help yourself. But some of the as I was saying, I shouldn't really say these stories, but some of the guys, most of the guys are dead now, But we were speaking of the dram culture, and I never experienced it, but I seen the aftermath of it, Our guys, I was in my 20s, and these guys in their 50s, it ruined them. They were all raging alcoholics that couldn't drink. Lovely guys, family guys, but they couldn't drink because it was just, once they started, things wouldn't stop. There was one guy I used to work with. I'm not going to say any names, but he's dead now, but I used to work with him, and we used to fill on the filling heads, we used to fill the new make spirit, and he'd his bib and brace, his dangies, and he'd the zip at the top, and there was a pen, and like a big pen, but it never had any ink in it. It was just a plastic thing, and I thought, this guy's crazy. He's got a pen with the ink in it, and I thought he's going to write with that, and I couldn't work out why, and he had it. And there was one time I was in filling heads with him, and he says to me, "You keep an eye out for fit, And it was in between, after the cask had filled up, it kind of come over the top, and he said, "Just keep an eye out, nobody's watching." What you on about? And then once it filled up, Dooney went below the cask, teeing out the pen, and of course he was at the top of the cask, sucking out the clear at the top of it. All right, barking away. And then I worked out why there was no ink left in his pen, the clear it, He did this all day long. All day long, Well, as I say, he's dead new, so I'm not saying their names, obviously, but that was kind of, and I'm thinking, oh my word, really, But, I mean, he came for that kind of culture, and it ruined a lot of good men. It did. Yeah, it was. Really it was accepted, but it certainly wasn't good. It ruined a lot of guys and whatever. So, yeah, thank goodness we didn't have that kind of.
Yeah, we've moved on from that, haven't we?
We have certainly evolved from that. It's the joys, but it's been
I remember hearing a story. I can't remember the distillery it was, but there was a lassie worked in the reception, or did the wage, wasn't the wage, did paperwork anyways. So it was always in the office, and this was back in the day when you would get like a bottle a week or something to take home with you and this kind of thing. And the company had stopped this, and they'd given him like a monetary benefit instead. So her wage came in, and she noticed this wee benefit, and she was like, went to her boss and said, "What's this?" And he was like, "Oh, well, that's to replace the bottle that we're not giving you anymore." And she's like, "I've never got a bottle." So because she was office based, she never knew about this bottle. Yeah. So and they're like, "Really?" And she's never got a bottle. So they backdated her pay and gave her amount of cash for every week.
I guess that's where the free bottles came, because of the drama, and they stopped the drama, and it was just, I mean, it was an uproar. There was. I mean, the Al brewer at Benromach, when he was retired, but he lived in the corner, and Tom used to give me some stories. Fantastic guy. He was from Islay as well, and he came up. He went from Lafroig to Lagavulin as a young man to further his career, because it was a bigger company. And then he went from Lagavulin as a brewer to Benromach, because the house was good at Benromach. Young, he'd young family, so he came up to Benromach. And the first thing he did when he came up to Benromach was the dram culture was just out of control. They were coming through the distilleries, they weren't even working at Benromach, and they were coming down for the stuff because it was apparently good spirit, good whiskey, whatever. And Tom, he had to put a stop to it, because he said it was too much again. And he wasn't liked at all, like in the town, for stopping he had to, because it was out of hand, Yeah. And he had told me the story. He went into the warehouse once, and they were queuing up to get a dram. And Tom went in, and he just tapped the guy on the shoulder. The guy told me it's Thomas. You can just effing wait like everybody else can. And he didn't care. It was a brewer that was standing at him like, Ken. And after that, Tom said, nah, enough's enough. We're going to have to curtail this because it was just getting a wee bit too much out of hand. And then they introduced free bottles and concessions of drinks. And it kind of evolved from that to a certain extent. But it's some of the stories are fearsome. Some of the stories, the old days, like guys getting teen hame in wheelbarrows and stuff like that. Okay, unbelievable. Okay, and it would have been true. You can, it would have been true. Okay, can imagine being so drunk that you workmen had to tuck your hame in a wheelbarrow, like, and all the rest of it. Like, okay? So there was one story I did here, and it was something along that lines, and it was something like the guy was so drunk that they teen him home to his wife. And she was so annoyed, but they'd actually done it in the fly because he was so drunk that they teen him in the flies. The brewer said, "Oh, get out here for the manager sees it, Ken." And of course, teen him home to the wife, and she was so bloody annoyed with him taking him in that state. She went down to the bloody manager, and of course, the beer guy got the sack because they can't hide it, Ken. They carried him home and just dumped him in the doorstep and said, "This is your property, Ken." So, wife inadvertently got her husband the sack, like Ken, by going down and saying, "Fucking hell, take my husband home in this bloody state for like kids." So,
yeah.
I've
heard a similar story where
some awful stories. Ken.
The wife phoned up. There's a Campbelltown, and the boy came home from work every day, steaming, sat in his seat and just fell asleep. But he fell asleep either before the wife got home or before she noticed he was drunk or whatever. So she phoned up the distillery complaining that he was getting worked too hard because all he ever does when he gets home is fall asleep. He's that tired. And then it's like, well, he's not. He's just bleeding.
Absolutely. Oh, it was terrible. I was really bad.
We laugh about it now, but yeah.
Oh, the cleric. I mean, if you start drinking that stuff, you can. We know it's the DNA of every single malt in hand, but as a drink, it can be pretty. It can be pretty rough sometimes and pretty raw. It's a raw spirit, of course it is, Ken.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you start drinking that stuff, it's you're on a sticky wicket with that one, that's for sure, like Ken. But
that's where your fitness.
Aye, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's certainly been a great journey for me, like Ken, and I've still got the last little part to go, which will be great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get the distillery going here and then just sort of wind down towards retirement, and that'll be me. I'll be quite happy and saying I've kind of achieved really what I want to achieve, not just at Benromach, but here at Coleburn.
Launching 2 distilleries would be
exactly. That's what it's all
about. Not a lot of people can have that on their resume. Eh?
No, and that was one of the things as well is get the chance to be part of 2 kind of mothball distillery from the same era. Benromach was 83 and this distillery was 85, but it was the same ownership. They were both owned by Scottish malt distillers at the time. And I think it's always great to kind of see the Rosebank and Port Ellen and some of these, like kind of, it's getting that old distilleries coming back, but of course all the new distilleries, new craft distilleries, they're wonderful. They are truly wonderful, these little ones that's coming out, you know. And it's great because as I said earlier on, starting off at Benromach, it was just everybody used to have a wee keckle and a wee laugh. I mean, what size of mash you got? Oh, ton and a half. Really, Ken? Dinky little distillery, Ken, all that kind of nonsense. There wasn't anything else of that similar size apart from Down Turret. And it was, you know, but now it's part of, they're everywhere. I mean, they're producing some wonderful single malts, you know, and really go back to the basics of whiskey making, traditional whiskey making methods. And I think it's fantastic to have these the industry's big enough that there's enough room for everybody, you know, from the big, huge producers right down to the little ones as well, like Ken, the smaller craft distillers, Ken. Boutique, they used to call us boutique, and I hated it. I hated the word boutique for the distillery. I truly did. artisan, and then they come out with craft. And I thought, yeah, okay, we'll live with that. It's a distillery. You know what I mean? We make whiskey. The amount's not relevant. It's not relevant. So, but yeah, no, it's certainly been great.
That's quite well. When you do your big retirement from the industry, you'll have to come back on here. So when you do your big
certainly when we start, there's obviously a few exciting things here when we start. Because I spoke with the owners, Dale and Mark, and I said, it's when they've obviously got their own label brand coming out soon as well. And there's things. It would be nice to get them on to discuss the whole. Because they can explain that whole vision better than I can to a certain extent with the whole whiskey resort and the own label and what sort of immersive experience that is planned for down here. The distillery certainly again, but yeah, it's going to be quite a thing. But yeah, just get the distillery run. That's my job. That's my job. So yeah, it'll be good fun.
Yeah.
Do you have you maybe mentioned this earlier on? Do you have a time scale of when we're going to see bottles of Coleburn?
Yeah, well, we spoke of that earlier on. I mean, if I can get a mash team doing in 2026, I'll be happy. So, I've got kind of. I mean, the owners are not really pushing me to time scales and plans. Though I'm pushing myself to a certain extent. You kind of have to have something, But at the moment, it's just getting all the information right and the concept right and kind of make the right decisions because kind of sustainability and the whole environment is very high up the list for Dale and Mark and the directors here as well, just to get that. And that needs a lot of work at the moment because there's so much out there and it's probably not the perfect time. We don't have the perfect fuel or there's just a lot there that needs to be thought and planned and such like. And that's what I'm doing at the moment as well as getting yarded into my knees in mud. God knows what else, which is just me being crazy as usual, so good fun, so but yeah, hopefully next week I come home. I actually want to come home in the clothes that I actually went out with at work. That would be good. I thought, wow, Keith, I felt oh me. Anyway, the joys.
That's exciting. We're going to be watching it to see it all unfold.
Yeah, it's
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's going to be great.
Cool.
Keith, thank you so much. I know I was just on for about an hour, but it's been so much fun to listen to your story.
It's been great. I know. I mean, I can yap a bit. It's so easy. I can yap about it all day. It's just again, if you're so confident, that's just what I do. I can't who do anything else. It's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing I have done most of my working life. So it's all good. It beats working for a living.
Well,
yeah.
The whole thing is called the Blether, and I think you're the epitome of fit a Blether is. If anybody wants a translation, you're a Blether in the best possible way.
Hopefully, I haven't offended anybody, which I
not at all.
You're welcome back anytime.
I'm just the only thing I'm upset is that I can't drink this lovely 25-year-old Highland Park because if you could smell it from it smells absolutely wonderful. So yeah, So, but no, thanks very much for having me on and getting the opportunity to ramble on a bit and give you all the Keithisms and God knows what else.
It's been really good fun.
Just hopefully watch this space and get you guys doing. Come and see distillery, see the whole process and everything, and hopefully as the journey goes on, not just when the distillery is running, but how we're getting on the whole journey and when we start to build and all.
Yeah, we'll get the Blether on the road again and come down and see
definitely.
You guys.
Absolutely, definitely.
That'd be great.
Never at all.
It's been fantastic. A load of great comments. Does Judah saying good luck with the subtitles? That'll be.
I know.
See what's come up.
I had to get my Doric head back on for tonight, but it's been good fun. It's always nice to hear it.
Yeah, never at all.
It's not hard. It's not ill to fall back into it, is it?
It's not. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's just a Blether and a dram. yeah, it's the best thing in the world, isn't it? That's what
100%.
having a dram's about. It is. That's truly what it's about. Like, so.
Yeah. We say it every single week. Just the community, the guys at home watching, you guys in the still house or visitor centre, or everyone just gets on. And it was great to be down at the festival last week with the indie bottlers, meeting so many people who are watching the Blether.
Like
in
minded.
person. Yeah, and it just brings.
There's no real competition there. It's quite rare. I don't think there's any other industry that is so relaxed that doesn't have competition. It's all like-minded, and we're all. It's very. It's quite refreshing to have that. Ken.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good.
Awesome.
Anyway,
Well,
I bet I get toodle off home like Ken and see what the wife said like Ken. So.
Say hello to your wife for me.
Well, yeah, I'll see her. Yeah, I will. She was actually getting her hair done when I came out, like Ken. So she, So I'll go home and see what they're saying, like Ken. So excellent. It's only a 20-minute drive anyway. Doing the Rothis Road and along, and that's me.
Oh, you're sorted.
Buy a Tharoskin on the end. Buy Tuckers on the end, like Ken. So.
Well, thanks again, and we'll see you
again. Thanks for having me on anyway. Talk to you soon, guys.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. So
that sounded like a lot of fun. even that wee bit I was on was brilliant.
So much fun. So many great stories. Honestly, I just I could just sit and listen to that all night. I think I did.
I've never seen you sitting like this at the screen before. It was brilliant.
Like story time.
You were just like Curie then, ready for the story.
Oh, I love it. I think like that.
Back and watch it.
I think it's so but I think like moments of that are really important because like that's something that's been in the industry for at least 27 years. Like a lot of what he's just said, like it's just nice to have that like recorded somewhere. Like we're not saying anything bad's going to happen to Keith anytime soon, but it's just nice to have that sort of down as a sort of sort of record of like some of the amazing achievements he's made. It's very
I love the justification that he was allowed to tell these stories because they're Adid new.
Adid. That is so Aberdeenshire as well. It's just it's Adid.
Adid.
Absolutely
so before everyone disappears, who's on next week?
So next week we have got the very talented and very lovely Vicky Miller. I'm just waiting to look up what her job title is. She's the export manager for Money McDavid. So we had her on your Woman in Whisky event that you did for Aberdeen Whisky Week, and she is such a clever girl, multilingual, very knowledgeable. She's doing her own little YouTube videos just now. If anybody follows her as well, she's Scottish Whisky Girl. So it's gonna be a fun chat. She's
it's good to get to catch up with her again, and a nice little tie-in with the Murray McDavid being in Coleburn site.
Well, exactly, and I did that completely on purpose. So yay me!
Great stuff. Well, guys, we'll let you all go off and do whatever it is that you do on a Thursday night after the Blether. Hopefully, you have a great weekend. Great seeing those of you that we had time to see at the festival. It was so good. Frank, thank you for the honey turner. It's not honey turner, it's a honey.
No, he said what it was. It's a dipper. Because I was trying to thank him for it earlier and got lost with what it was. I was like, come on, somebody help me. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. It's in my kitchen.
I think we decided it was a spurtle on the day, but it's not because a spurtle's for porridge.
It was. And I was so pleased with this that I just carried it around all afternoon. Everyone's like, what are you holding and why? But I'm like, look what I got. And I've already apologized again to everybody that I've hugged. It just seems to be standard practice when I go to a festival and have a dram. So yeah, sorry if I hugged you. Sorry if I didn't get around to it. But yeah, I think we missed half. The people there because we were just chatting so much to everyone. It was just such an
We missed half the stands. There was like people saying, "Oh, you never got to my stand." I was like, I didn't get to like hardly any stands. Really. Yeah.
I know. By the time I got home on Sunday night, I was actually broken. I was just physically broken, but it was definitely worth it. So yeah, and I got our compensation for our train ticket. You'll never guess how much that came to.
Oh,
Worth it.
really?
Anyway, yeah.
Like a tenner.
Oh, you get £16.50, so I'll sort you out with that. That's what I spent my time in my hairdressing appointment sorting out today for £16.50. But
You put it towards the extortionate taxi we've got.
oh, don't even get me started on that. But yeah, a lot of fun. I think definitely the best festival I've been to.
Yeah, I've been saying that all week. And the other thing I'll be saying is if it happens again, I hope it does. Then I'll be going down for the weekend because I was gutted coming home that night, knowing that
I was so
Edinburgh
glad.
was full of so many people.
Glad you got home because I messaged you and said, "How's the journey going? Did you get home?" You're like, where am I going? I'm like, I'm at Melissa's house. I'm like, what? What? I left you with Chris from Little Brown Dog. Where are you?
Yeah, I noticed Willis is watching tonight. Loved the offer of a kip in your flat, but I did have to get home to the wee man and the wife. So I took advantage of the fact that I could still be married on Sunday morning. I thought I'd better get home.
Nice.
So, but thank you again for the offer.
I know, yeah, and thank you everyone for tuning in like usual. I love this little Blether and group we've got together. I love that you all come and say hello to us at festivals. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys for your support and tuning in every week. And we'll see you next week. We'll do.
Ask us for our card if you see us. We have our own cards now. And if you know anyone who would like to receive a card to come on the Blether, let us know.
Yeah. Come and find us. Find us either through Mike or through our card, business card, or find us on social media as well. You know how to get a hold of us. So come and say hello and give us your recommendations. And who would you like on as well? If I can track them down, like I'm tenacious, I will. So send me your suggestions. We shall see you all next week, though.
We will do. Cheers, guys. Good night.
Cheers. Slange.